This is a Not Just A Guy production. Let me talk at ya. Welcome back to Not Just A Guy, the show about struggling in storytelling from a struggling storyteller. That aforementioned storyteller is myself, your host, Not Just A Guy, the guy, Garrett Briones. We are coming hot off of our inaugural episode. That episode is episode 0. And the reason why that episode last week was episode 0 was I recorded that bad boy all the way back in February. I thought the podcast was going to be started way back when. And the reason why it didn't, let's just kind of jump right into it. I hope you enjoyed that first episode. If this one's your first one, basically the show is just all about my journey, my guest journey, which I'm hoping in the next few episodes I can bring on some guests. But it's just talking about the struggles that we go through to be a filmmaker, be an artist, get our art featured in a gallery, get our book published, whatever kind of storyteller you are. I am a filmmaker, and it's about the struggles that we face week to week, month to month, year to year. This show is a living document for myself, for guests. My dream is to have like a guest come on, and then maybe in a year or a year and a half, 2 years, they come back on and we talk about how their career has gone since the last time we saw them. How many projects have we gotten off the grounds, things like that. And for me, it's different for me because since I'm the host, it's going to happen every week. I'm going to talk about projects I'm working on, how they're going, how they're not going, what's coming to fruition, what isn't coming to fruition, things like that. That's what the show is. It's about the struggles that we go through to get our art realized. Maybe someone can learn from it. Maybe someone can see the path I take and go the complete opposite of it, and I wouldn't blame someone. So we're going through that. We're trying to figure that out. But yeah, I was very happy with that first episode. As I said, it was recorded all the way back in February. That was originally supposed to be episode 1, and then I had an episode 2, but honestly, just too much time. I liked my first initial episode 1 that I wanted to keep it and release it. I felt like I needed to, just kind of scrap what was going to be the second episode and catch up now to where I am now, because a lot has changed from when I recorded that episode to now. Obviously, one of the big ones being all the strikes that are going on that in Hollywood, and the WGA fully support that, and I'll get into that a little bit more just here in a bit. That's probably one of the bigger things I'm going to talk about today. But myself, in that first episode, I mentioned a lot having a job, and I have not had that job since March 3rd. And at the time of recording this, it is July. And honestly, that leaving that job was a big step in my storytelling career. Because I think I had mentioned last episode that I was working in an equipment center. I was working at my old college equipment center. That job was, I really needed that job when I got it. I had just moved back down here. I knew I wasn't going to be making any headway at all the longer I stayed back in my hometown where I had to relocate to during the height of COVID. And so at the end of 2021, I knew when 2022 started, I needed to move back. I needed to get back down to LA, or at least the LA area, and get back on the saddle, basically. I missed out on making my thesis film, as I mentioned last week, and it was very hard back when I was back home to see everybody that I went to school with really getting their starts and, having that FOMO. And I think that the biggest hurdle to getting, I had saved up so much money when I was working at Lowe's back home, and you learn very quickly how fast that money goes, especially when you're paying Los Angeles rent. I moved down to LA. I had a pretty good setup, and for a few months there I was jobless. No one, everyone was hiring, but no one wanted to hire. And then this opportunity came up to work at my school, and honestly, when I got the job, it was the ideal job. It was down the street from me. It was like, or like 10 or so, maybe 15 minutes on a bad traffic day. It was, it paid well, 40 guaranteed hours a week. It was working with film equipment. It was working in the company of filmmakers and young up-and-coming filmmakers, and working alongside the people that taught me. It was a very interesting gig, and there was a portion of time where I absolutely... It was perfect. Everything was perfect. I was working there with one of my friends at the time, and it was just, everything fell into place. The job did take up a lot, took up 40 hours a week. And so my storytelling started to take a little bit of a hit while I was working there, but I did have times where I could work on scripts. And then there was a brief period where I was unemployed, just some change ups. I was let go just because of, some things that needed to be cut back. I'm not going to get into details. And then I was brought back. Thankfully, last summer I was brought back. The friend I was working with, we went our separate way, but it was really hard from about, I would say, July of last year to honestly till like October. I felt like so many times I was writing scripts and then, metaphorically crumpling them, because I was writing them on my computer, metaphorically crumpling them up and throwing them out. And I think I repeated that process so many times. I would pick a project. Okay, this is the one I'm going to do. No, actually, it's not. This is the one I'm going to do. Okay, actually, no, it's not. And I just repeated that process, and it was no good work was being done. But I did have ideas that I was thinking about. I mentioned this last week, but it's weird for me to say that because I actually mentioned that months ago. But my friend Johnny Rome, they suggested that I turn a lot of the ideas I had into an audio drama, because the biggest thing that was holding me back was budget and crew and sets and things like that. Money I just did not have, resources that were not available to me. It's about November, I really started to get into that idea, and now we are here at July, and as far as the audio drama goes, I have 8 scripts written. Each quote-unquote season is about 6 episodes. I have a full season written, and I have 2 episodes, because of how our production schedule is sort of looking, because we haven't even started production yet on the first season, but we have a little bit of delay till we can start that production. I just have decided to go ahead and start writing the next season, just because I have the time. While I'm still, working on the first and polishing and things like that, I just wanted to go ahead and start this next batch because I figured I have the time. I'm in the zone, I guess. I'm really into the project, and I have very ambitious plans for it. I'm not gonna reveal them all right now, but for me, it could go on for a good little while, and I know where the whole thing goes. To give a little more detail without giving anything else, it is an anthology, or at least that's how it seems. I'll say it like that. And there's a lot that goes into that. I'll say that to anybody. I have my way of writing an anthology, and I have my way of writing an audio drama. I've taken notes. I read an audio drama. I've taken notes on people talking about how to write audio dramas, things like that. Weirdly, I haven't listened to any, and I know that's kind of weird, but I do plan to before we get fully into production. You would think that I would have listened to some before I started writing one, but weirdly I haven't, and I can't really pinpoint why. I don't know if it's because I don't know. I've been trying to rack my brain around why I haven't just sat down and listened to any when I started to work in that format. I'm still trying to unlock that secret myself a bit. But yeah, I've gone, it's an anthology, it's horror mainly. I don't know why I had such a hard time pronouncing that. It involves a lot of different things, and I'm hoping to feature a lot of my colleagues from school, and as well as people that I've never worked with before. I think we're really cooking up something fun. I think if it finds the right audience, it could really be something. I'm so immensely attached to it. There's characters that I've written that I love, and that I'd be remiss if something happened to them in their stories. Like, I've become so invested in them, but I know that for the good of the story, whatever I feel about them can't really play into that. But that's kind of where I'm at with that. Going back to the job that I left, not to say, I'm not here to badmouth or anything. I would never do that. I left that job in March, and really I did really enjoy that job, and what I would want you to take away from this is just, if you believe strongly about something, or if you feel like your concerns aren't being heard, or if you feel like you can't get any positive work done in an environment, I think it is valid to take your time and really think about if taking yourself out of that situation, extracting yourself out of that situation is going to be the best for you mentally. Because for me, it was getting to a point where I needed to take a step away, and I needed to reach out to I reached out to a lot of people. I reached out to, I talked to my girlfriend. I talked to my best friend. I talked to my parents. And I really needed to get an idea of what is this going to mean for me, because I'm already, I'm not making it big right now in Hollywood. I'm not getting the big bags of cash, and I already didn't have a ton of money to invest in projects. And if I were to step away from that job, I'd have even less. But I ultimately had to just look at the bigger picture in the sense of like myself and my life and my mental health and my physical health and my just general well-being. And it just wasn't, none of those things were going to be serviced very well if I stayed where I was at. And this isn't to attack anybody. This isn't to say anything about the place as a whole. I very much enjoyed my time there, and it was an ideal job, and it got me through some very, rough patches. And you come to a point eventually where you got to move on. If you in the situation aren't clicking anymore, and it just isn't what's going to serve you or serve the place you're working for in the long run, eventually you just need to cut that tie. I was grateful for the opportunity, but it just wasn't going to serve me well in any way, shape, or form, or how I was feeling. So I left, and I've done some freelance work here and there since that, just to keep the lights on. And what's been nice about that, and I kind of implore you, if you are able to land some kind of gig where you can almost make your own schedule and you're a storyteller, I think that's honestly, until you really are, because the goal is obviously to get to a point where I'm being paid for my work, and I'm not there yet. And that's just how the cookie crumbles. So the next best thing for me was finding something where I'm getting paid. I have money that I know is coming in every Friday, but I'm able to have more time to work on my scripts. I can go and work, but be done working by 2 or 3 at the latest, and come home, or go work out and then come home and be able to write for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. And I'll admit, that's another struggle of this is, it was hard when I had the 9-to-5, but even in other ways, it's been hard with the freelance, not knowing where I'm going to work every day. So I have to wake up early to make a different commute, and then, go and work out. And then by the time I get actually home, there were nights where I was just like, what, I'd rather just play Resident Evil 4, or, I'd rather just do this, or I'd rather just, watch a movie, or things like that, where I had to admit to myself, as much as I want to work on these things, I was burning out in different ways, and I had to learn how to manage that schedule. I'm in a place now where things are a lot more, it's the summer, and some places are offering jobs, some places aren't. The freelancing I was doing, it's dried up a little bit at the moment, but I'm still making it work, and I'm not just the thing I pride myself on, and I would say to consider, and I have to have others telling me this all the time, is I may not have a job that I'm going and working at, but I am working. I'm waking up, I go and work out, and then I sit down and I try and write. And I'll, to be honest, again, there are days where I feel like I'm on Twitter more than I'm actually writing pages on my computer, or I'm on Instagram looking at stories more than I'm telling my stories. I'm trying to fix that, cut back the screen time, especially, but it's hard when you aren't getting paid for what you're doing. But then that's when you remember that the reason why you're doing this isn't just to make mounds and mounds of cash, or a mound or a half a mound of cash. You are doing this for the love of the game. You're doing this for the love of storytelling, of artistry. That's what always, even when I look at the bank account and it's dwindling, I remember that, I'm actively looking for something, something to support me, so I can continue to do my art on the side, but also that this is work. Yes, it'd be nice to have something that would pay, but I don't have that right now. But I'm keeping on. I won't lie to you. It is, and I keep saying, which is what this show is about. It's about not sugarcoating anything, not hiding. It is a hard way. It is hard to make it in this industry. You think of how many thousands of actors that hundreds of thousands of actors that you see on screen. Think about the ones that don't ever get to make it to the screen. Think about the names of screenwriters you see in the credits, and think about all the screenwriters that never have their scripts picked up. Think about the directors that have never gotten to put their films on the big screen. Think about that, because I think about that because I think about that quite often. I think about that all the time. But I just know that if I'm genuine, if I'm myself, and I put my blood, sweat, and tears into my projects, that eventually, I will make it to that point that I will not just be a guy, I will be the guy. That is where that moniker comes from. That is why I call myself that. It is a calling card. It is a rallying cry to myself that I don't want to just be a person. I want to be the person. And it's not even from a place of conceition. Maybe it's more, or being conceited. It's maybe more so from a sense of confidence. And sometimes I lack that confidence. It is the idea of pushing yourself to be not only the best version of yourself, but being the person you're meant to be, that you are the marquee. You are the person that stands out because you are 100% you. That is what it means when I say I'm the guy. That is why the show is called Not Just a Guy. I mean, you could be not just a girl. You could be not just a person. You are the person. It is about pushing yourself to be that best version of you that will etch your name in history in whatever it is you do. It doesn't even have to be storytelling. It could be whatever it is. That's where that comes from. It is to push myself to be my absolute best. That is why I call myself the guy, and that's why the show has its name. And something that is kind of related in the sense of how we tell stories, especially in my industry, the writer strike, the ongoing writer strike that when we had the VGA, the SAG-AFTRA one is, they're still working things out. There's an extension. That is a whole big different can of worms. And I said at the top, I fully support the writers, because when you really think about it, with no script, what's the story you're telling? And no freaking AI can tell a story as beautifully and as personally and as original and creatively as a person or multiple people putting pen to paper, typing up a story, typing up a script. So many of my favorite movies would not exist if you just plugged things into an algorithm. Because that's the thing with AI is people want to say it's the future and people want to, hop at it. I was one of those people that did the AI, the pictures, where you give them a few pictures of you so it can makes all those pictures of you. Most people know what I'm talking about. And everybody was posting them. I even did it too. But then I was immediately over it. I was like, okay, who cares? But that's the thing. And even with those was just aggregating other people's artwork and art styles and things like that. You can't just expect that I'm going to put action adventure and then plug in 2 actors or 2 character types. And it's going to give me a story that's as rich as Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. It's not. It's the reason why any film or any book or any TV show, any song, it means jack diddly squat, is because it comes from the story. It's from the heart of whoever wrote it. Even if it, whether it makes you laugh, it makes you cry, it makes you feel sick to your stomach. It's because it is a experience, whether it's lived in or it is one that a person has researched. It's real. And AI, it's almost like any writing prompt that that you give it and then it shoots out a story at you. It feels like you're reading Uncanny Valley, which is, which the idea of the Uncanny Valley is like if someone made a lifelike human looking robot. You would look at it and your brain would go, this looks like a human. I should believe this is a human. But there's some otherness. There's something off about it because it is not the thing that it's trying to emulate. That's how I feel when I see all these people trying to exalt AI as the next coming of the Messiah, and that this is going to be people thinking that this is how they're going to fast track their way to stardom. But it's brother man, you didn't do anything. You just plugged it into the freaking AI. You didn't do anything. Get off your pedestal. And I think that there are value, I think there will eventually be a value to AI in those different things. But when it comes to telling stories, you can take the AI and you can shove it, honestly, because it's never in, you even look at something like Secret Invasion, based on the Marvel Comics set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I remember reading Secret Invasion back in 2007, 2008 as a kid, and you look at the art of Leinil Francis Yu, this beautiful art of the Avengers and the Skrull infiltrators, all these things. And then you look at the opening credits of the Secret Invasion show, which are AI generated, and you get the spiel, which I don't want it to sound negative. I understand it. I understand what they were going for. I understand them saying the show's about imposters. The show is about things not being 100% right. This is about infiltration and things being off, things like that. I understand that. Fully understand it. That doesn't mean I necessarily have to enjoy it. And I think back to Leinil Francis Yu's art for Secret Invasion. I'm like, okay, well, why couldn't this same thing be done with like an artist or a group of artists drawing it? And kind of also ties into the theme of the show. It's like, okay, so you want to use AI more because it's probably less people you have to pay. I mean, even those credits, there were people credited, like people did have to use the AI. There was a team, but just think about all the jobs you are cutting out. And is it to save money? Is that the main reason why people want AI? Not because they think it's really gonna give authentic or interesting or new stories. It's just, oh, well, we can save money by having to pay less people to do this, because if it's just that, then it is a waste of time for me. Like, I have no interest in ever using it because I don't need it. And that's not even to be conceited or to, puff myself up. It's like, why would I want to just plug stuff into an algorithm and have it spit it out at me? What's the fun of telling that story? Like, really? Or even if it's like you did that and have it just be the baseline, where's the fun in that? Where's the fun in developing the story? Where's the authenticity of bringing some of your own life experience to it? It boggles my mind. And there's so many other things that it's not even just the AI of it all, although that's a very scary thing. It's, streaming. Streaming has opened up so many possibilities, so many writers' rooms, so many different job opportunities, people getting to tell their stories that they may have not gotten to in like network TV or even in some films. But then it's this other thing where it's like, okay, you give us this beautiful art. You give us time from your life to do this. And we are going to pay you the bare minimum. We are going to not give you any residuals. And we're just going to kind of let you flounder. You can give us some of the biggest successes, but we will not compensate you for it. And then the money just goes into the heads of studios. And it just goes into the CEOs at the top of these companies, and it's like, who does that incentivize? Who does that motivate? Why would I want to tell a story, or why would I want to continue to work in a place make work and make stories and help bring to life productions for places that I know aren't going to really truly value me? I'm in this first and foremost to tell my stories, but I won't be able to tell my stories if I can't, put a roof over my head, food on my table, and provide for the people I care about and that rely on me. And this just bullish nature, and especially when you see the amount of money the CEOs of these studios are making and the CEOs of the companies, and it's just like, and then they do that, and then they say just such like dismissive things about the strike or why people are striking, or they just don't want to truly put themselves in the shoes of the people that are striking, because they don't have to worry about that sort of thing, because they are so on such a far different planet that they don't comprehend. Like, we love telling these stories, but why are we telling the stories that are making money that is going directly into your pocket when we're the ones who are struggling to even get these stories told in the first place? There are people that their main job is being a writer, and they're not making enough to make ends meet, that they're having to take out other jobs, or they're having to so strategically make these paychecks last between gigs because they're not going to get any additional compensation. It is ridiculous. And I fully stand with everybody that is on the picket lines, everyone that is on strike, and I hope for the absolute best outcome out of all this, because it is ridiculous that people are putting their life into these stories and they aren't getting what they deserve for them. It just boggles my mind. I fully stand in support, and I really hope the best possible outcome comes to everyone who is fighting tooth and nail to have the right thing be done. What is next? What is next for the podcast? What is next for the storyteller? Part of this is about, we're seeing where we're going. We're seeing where my journey is going, where I have some ideas of some guests lined up. I'm waiting. Some people are out of town. Some people are, in the midst of productions. Some people are, Comic-Con is coming up soon. So some people I know are going to be going out to that. They're going, focus very much on that. I'm hoping after Comic-Con I can get them on. But as for me, just trying to find maybe something a little more steady as a job. That's always nice. But the big thing is the audio drama. That is trying, in a perfect, beautiful world, it would come out at the end of this year. I'm hoping, I would love for it to come out in the fall. A part of me was hoping maybe like right after summer it would come out, but it looks a little less likely. But I really want that project to come to life this year, especially if I can finish the second season before or as we're going into production on the first. I would like to do them back to back if possible, so that at the start of next year we could already have the season ready for next year. In a perfect world, again, the beauty of the audio drama format and why when it was suggested to me, I was interested, and now I'm just in love with, and I really think that there is so much untapped potential. I mean, there are quite a bit of, there's quite a few audio dramas if you really look out there, and they have such a long history. Even something that, when I was a kid, I was fascinated by was War of the Worlds. I read the book version of War of the Worlds, and I actually did a presentation on it in 6th grade, just as the main hero in there. But you look at something like that was so powerful that it made people think some people thought it was real. The power of that, the way it so vividly told its story, and it got in the minds of people. It got in their heads, and they made the story that it was telling. So I love it because it's a lot of Foley and a lot of sound effects and music and mood and tone. And really, one person's interpretation of it could be different from another. It's like a book. It's like a book mixed with the audio of a movie. That's almost, at least that's how I've kind of approached it. Is that for me, this is a movie that you're watching in your head. I want to give you the characters. I want to give you the music, all that, so that you can just be watching the movie in your head, whether you're laying in bed listening to it, walking down the street, driving in your car, working out, whatever. And that's why it utterly fascinates me. And the thing about making an anthology, that's a big writing thing that I've really had to rack my brain around, because a lot of my things have a beginning, middle, and end. That's the style of writing I'm really used to. I haven't gotten really into serialized storytelling just yet, but so my experience has much more been with beginning, middle, end. And it's interesting to do that with this, because it's like it's a season, but every episode is its own story, its own world, its own set of characters, and there will probably be an overlap in and actors that portray. I know that there's some characters I'm going to be portraying in it that are different. There's one character in one episode, there's a different character in a different episode, and there's a different character in a different episode. But it's interesting to have to, it's like every episode, however long they shake out to be, there's some that are pre-polished, pre-cuts, things like that, pre-revisions are about an hour long. And it's like writing a mini movie, even more. They're longer. The format is different than that of like the script for a short film, so the length isn't 1-to-1, but they're longer stories. I feel like they feel more akin to like writing a feature, which I still have yet to do, which I've been trying to write my first feature. I've had the idea for years. I just haven't really, I started to write it a little bit last year, but that's when I was still sort of in that funk. So didn't fully, I'm going to have to revisit it and get back to it. I think I only got like maybe the opening scene. I don't even know if I finished the opening scene, but I think, so like every episode I kind of approach, it's like, I'm making a movie every episode. It's like I have to get you into a whole new world, a whole new concept every episode. And that has been a fun challenge, not like a crazy, sometimes I probably want to run my head through a wall, but it's been a really fun challenge so far. That will fall under being a Not Just A Guy production. Everything. So the way it works for me is Not Just A Guy. That's the brand. That is what, if you're listening to this on YouTube, that is what the channel, if you're listening to this, or if you're listening to this or eventually watching, which I'll get to that later, on YouTube, the channel is Not Just A Guy Productions. This will be on the YouTube channel. That will be the hub for the podcast, for short films, for another short form informational series I'm working on. That will be like a video sort of thing, like short video, short form content, if you will. But this podcast, and on the podcatchers, it's just called Not Just A Guy. And at top, you hear me say, this is a Not Just A Guy production. This is a Not Just A Guy production. There's production. I'm talking into a microphone. I'm looking at software. It is edited by my wonderful editor, Emily Cunningham. We used Kevin MacLeod's music, which, I got the license for. And this is a Not Just A Guy production. But it is also the flagship podcast, which the audio drama will fall under being a Not Just A Guy production, whether that is also a co-production with Johnny's producing. Whether we do it through Johnny's banner as well. If we do it as a co-production, I'm all for that. But this is Not Just A Guy production. That will be all my short films. My upcoming ones will be Not Just A Guy productions. You can find those on the YouTube channel and any other fun things. And hopefully soon, I considered doing it for this episode, but just more of a timing thing kind of eliminated that possibility. But I'm hoping in the next couple of episodes that on the YouTube channel there will be video available. At the moment there is a video aspect to it, but that you will see my beautiful handsome face. That is a hope of mine, is that within the next 2 or 3 you will see, we will have that video, because I know some people just want to stare at a face talking. So I'm hoping to do that soon. As far as short films go, I have a script for one written that is very low budget, but it's a lot of fun, and I'm hoping I can get that done before we go into production on the audio drama, because it's a remake of the short I briefly mentioned last week that Emily and I made, and that one of my friends he had edited, a friend at the time, he had edited it, which is just a fun sort of thing that was kind of the substitute for my thesis film. So we want to make this on a little bit of a bigger budget, a little more time given to it, a little more tweaking of the tone, just having fun with it, but making, just because I want to make something, and it doesn't need to be the most polished thing, doesn't need to have the biggest crew, just something fun. And that would live on the channel once we figure out what we're doing with it. Those are the audio drama and the short are the next productions that I'm working on, and in that short form video content, I guess. I'm working on that too. I'm hoping that we can have that up there as well. I think I will start linking the YouTube channel in the audio links on all the podcatchers, and that you can find it there. I hope whether you're listening, I appreciate whether you watch the show on YouTube or you listen to it on whatever podcatcher. If you can, and I'll probably remind you again at the end, rate and review, give me a like, subscribe. I would appreciate that very, very, very much. I'll get back to that later. But those are really what is next, and I will continuously try and update. There will be weeks where nothing happens, because maybe I haven't worked on it, or I've been busy with something else. But I want to be accountable, and I want this podcast to hold me accountable, and I want to also, show that work doesn't always happen, progress doesn't always happen, and that's. It could be bad if you're purposefully avoiding it and pushing it off forever and ever and ever, just because you're maybe scared. Which I'm prone to do. I will fully own up to that. But it is okay to not for 100% 24/7 be on that. But that's where I'm at as far as what is next and upcoming. And something I want to, and I'll ask my guests this as we get them. But for me, it's, how am I struggling? What am I struggling with right now? What is the main struggle that is keeping me from telling my story? And it's one that we all face. It's probably money. And it's because I can't not stress about that. Because I can't not worry about money coming in. And it is adversely affecting my script writing. Because I'm so focused on that. I'm sometimes, I'm just so worried about it. I'm just checking my bank account. I'm looking at job listings, and they're all they just depress me and wipe me out, and so I don't feel like doing anything. I'd rather just sit there on the couch and just keep stop looking at all the jobs that are sort of bumming me out, that aren't calling me back, or that are telling me they don't, that they're going to go in a different direction, and so that just leads me to want to doom scroll on Twitter or look at pictures on Instagram, go through stories, and then that that opens up a different can of worms, because I see people doing paid film work and being able to support themselves doing that, and I don't have that. But although they shouldn't be, most of them shouldn't be, unless those are non-union gigs, as we're talking about strikes. But I'm joking. Although I will tell on you, I'm if there's anything I am, it's a snitch, and I don't care about whatever kind of stitch you want to give me. I'm kidding, but actually, if I did know someone's doing that, I'm a Boy Scout, so not like the actual organization Boy Scout, lowercase b, lowercase s, like how Superman is the big blue Boy Scout. Boy Scout just means you're a good guy. It means you're an upstanding little boy. Okay, you're an upstanding little man. You have your hands on your hips and you say, hey, don't do bad. I don't know what that tangent was, but I kind of liked it. I'm just saying I'm a good boy, okay? Good guy Garrett. Anyhow, man of many monikers, we can call me. My work is being adversely affected, I think, by the stress I am putting on myself to finding a more steady source of income, so that I can worry less and still be able to do my work that isn't necessarily bringing in any money. That's where I was trying to go. I'm enjoying doing the podcast. We're going strong. I'm enjoying doing it, building that base, that foundation, and I want to hear people's stories. That's what I've been trying to post a lot on the social media pages, because I want people to hear my story, and I want them to feel like this is a place that they can come and tell their stories. One day I would think it would be awesome to have like a mailbag, have people be able to send in stuff when we, to talk about their stories, but that's stuff, far down the road. I have people in mind, like I said. I hope to be able to bring on guests because I want to get more perspectives in. So that's where I'm at. I'm hoping to bring in some guests, and I'm hoping, like I said, to get the video format. But I think that's gonna do it for this week's installment. It was a fun one, a lot of different things talked about. But that's gonna do it for this week's episode of Not Just a Guy. Thank you so much for listening. If you're listening on the podcatchers, please rate and review. And if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment as well. Anything that you related to in this episode, please, I would love to hear. Anything that caught your attention that you really enjoyed. I have been your host, Not Just a Guy, the guy, Garrett Briones. Love what you do, people, because that's what's going to get you through the struggles. Love what you do. And I will see you all next time. Play that beautiful music. Take care.